So, in my Worst Cats poll video, there was understandably a lot of disagreement with the results, but the most arguing definitely came from people discussing cats for Mapleshade's vengeance. Throughout the Warrior Cats fandom, I don't think I've seen any book receive quite as much debate and disagreement than this tiny, incredibly rushed, 9-chapter Mapleshade novella. And the debate is rarely about whether or not the book is good. The arguments mainly revolve around which cats from the book are the most evil, and which ones are the most justified in their actions. So you know what? I decided to give the novella yet another read-through, so that I could analyze the actions of all the book's major characters, and rank them from least evil to most evil, in my opinion. Oh, and to stop Mapleshade's ranking from being too obvious, what I'm going to do is treat Mapleshade before being kicked out of RiverClan by Darkstar, and afterwards as separate characters. So that's 12 cats I've decided to include in the ranking that I will show on screen now. No kits because they're too young to be judged for their morals. I completely and thoroughly expect you all to disagree with my list. Let's go. Number 12, Myler. The one spot I think we can actually all agree on. He does nothing but give Mapleshade food and hospitality, caring for her both after Darkstar kicks her out and in her final moments. Certified good boy. Number 11, Nettlepaw. Nettlepaw is genuinely worried for Mapleshade and her kits, in spite of the rest of ThunderClan being so eager to get rid of her, even giving up ThunderClan herbs to help her. Just a kind soul he is. Number 10, Perchpaw. The main thing he does is being the one who finally kills Mapleshade. Considering Mapleshade was about to kill Reedshine, I would consider this heroic of him. He's only slightly more bad than Nettlepaw because he has prejudice towards ThunderClan cats, but so does every RiverClan cat at this point, so it's not a deal breaker. He's good. Number 9, Reedshine. Reedshine is an interesting cat to place because on her own, she doesn't do anything bad. She just loves Appledusk. The only things you could fault her for is defending Appledusk so heavily instead of holding him accountable for lying to her, and supporting Darkstar and kicking Mapleshade out of RiverClan, but I don't think it's fair to blame her for Appledusk's actions or Darkstar's decisions, so she's pretty morally neutral. Number 8, Ravenwing. Ravenwing I feel is also pretty neutral. He didn't choose for StarClan to send him an omen, and given that he received an omen, it's pretty clear that StarClan wanted him to tell ThunderClan about the kit's true father. He's just doing his job. Take up your complaints with his managers up in StarClan. Mapleshade also planned on telling ThunderClan eventually, and was already taking the kits out to swim. The secret was coming out regardless. If it wasn't Ravenwing, it still would not have been long. And also, he doesn't weigh in on Oakstar's eventual decision to exile Mapleshade and her kits. He mostly just takes the stance that it is awful that Mapleshade led Frecklewish and Oakstar to believe they had kin they didn't really have. He doesn't have any super heroic deeds either, which leaves him as neutral. Number 7, Bloomheart. There's gotta be a handful of Mapleshade fans who don't even remember who Bloomheart is. Let me refresh you. He was Mapleshade's mentor, who Mapleshade feels betrayed by when he supports Mapleshade and her kits being exiled from ThunderClan. Wanting kits exiled? Not good. But he does have the heroic deed of caring for Frecklewish when the snake bites her in the absence of Ravenwing. So we're neutral again. Number 6, Frecklewish. Fun fact about Frecklewish, she doesn't actually die in Mapleshade's vengeance. The snake venom doesn't actually kill her until after the events of the book, which we only know because of the Pine Star's Choice novella. Anyway, she's not evil. To start things off, she steps in to help Mapleshade in the absence of a father for her kits, even being there for her when she delivers them, and her worst moments were only brought about because Mapleshade lied and manipulated her into believing her dead brother was a father in order to gain her favor to sway ThunderClan to support her half-clan kits. Her clawing Mapleshade, her calling her kits half-clan creatures and supporting them being exiled, those are bad things. But I do think she deserves more lenience in this situation than Bloomheart or most of the ThunderClan cats because she was manipulated so badly. Also, I don't consider her seeing Mapleshade's kits be washed away to be a point against her in the slightest. It's a completely reasonable assumption for her, to think that the RiverClan cats had things handled. Frecklewish can't even swim. If she jumped in, it would be less likely for the kits to survive, because RiverClan would need to save her as well. It's definitely not Kello negligence or whatever the Warrior Cats team wants to call it. I'm ranking her as neutral, and so far I think every cat on this list should be considered worthy of going to StarClan. Number 5. Appledusk. Appledusk might be the most interesting cat to rank. He's the first cat in this list to have some solid wrongdoings that go beyond simple words. Firstly, he is responsible for Birchface's death when he knocks him off of Sunning Rocks, which, even if he's telling the truth and it's an accident, is still against the Warrior Code for killing in battle, and should be considered carelessness. And his other crime is cheating on Mapleshade. Now, it's not the most extreme case of cheating, because he was clearly avoiding meeting with Mapleshade by the time he was getting close to Reedshine, but the fact that he doesn't break up with Mapleshade and pretends he's still with her, it's still lying and cheating. And it's also wrong that he hid something as big as being a father to ThunderClan kits from his mate Reedshine. And he overall avoids accountability, showing no compassion to Mapleshade when she begs for a home in RiverClan, instead taunting her for killing their kits. Which, he's right, but it's clearly not the time for that. So a lot of screw-ups from Appledusk. How does he make up for it? Well, rewind back to Chapter 3. He saves Patch Kit when Mapleshade carelessly lets him go for a swim. He warns Mapleshade to keep the kits out of the river. In Chapter 4, when Mapleshade ignores his warning, he still saves Mapleshade's life and attempts but unfortunately fails to save the kits. And in Chapter 9, when Mapleshade turns evil, he gives his life to save his mate Reedshine. So Appledusk, he's kind of a hero too. I'm going to rate him questionable. I feel like whether or not he's good might just depend on his inner thoughts and true intentions, which the book never reveals. We never really know for sure how Birchface's death really played out. Number 4. Darkstar. I'm doing a bit of root cause analysis to rank Darkstar this high. The fact of the matter is that the Sunning Rocks battles are inherently immoral. It's a dangerous battleground with its cliffs that cats can fall off of, and the water that cats can drown in. And we don't see any cats in this book dropping dead from hunger, so it does feel like in this book, it's a matter of greed on the side of both clans. Darkstar ordering her warriors to fight is what sets up situations like the one that kills Birchface and Flowerpaw. In addition, she kicks Mapleshade, who just lost their kittens, out of RiverClan, not even giving her a single night to rest, or mourn them. She recognizes that her losing kits is punishment enough, and then punishes her further anyway. I get the tensions between ThunderClan and RiverClan are high, but whose fault is that? Darkstar. Well, not just Darkstar. At this point you're probably thinking, but what about Oakstar? Don't worry, he's next. But I rank Darkstar problematic. Number 3, Oakstar. Basically, all the problems I have with Darkstar also apply to him. He also fuels the hostility between the two clans and sends his warriors into pointless, dangerous battles. And he also kicks Mapleshade out. But he is significantly worse than Darkstar, because Darkstar only kicks out Mapleshade, Oakstar kicks out Mapleshade and her kittens. As leader, and the cat with the final say, I think he should take full blame for the kits being exiled, over Frecklewish, Bloomheart, or any other cat in support of it. So yes, he's problematic. Number 2. Mapleshade, pre-exile from RiverClan. Oh boy. I split off Mapleshade's pre-exile self to make her ranking more interesting, only for her to still be at the top. So to clarify, this Mapleshade is her from the beginning of the book, right up to the point Darkstar exiles her, and she meets Myler for the first time. No murder yet, but she's still worse than Oakstar. She leads Frecklewish on, manipulating her into thinking the kits are her family, in order to further her own personal agenda, but that's not even why she's ranked here. She's bad because she refuses to keep her kittens out of the water. Chapter 3, Before the Storm, and while she is still a ThunderClan cat. She takes her kits out of camp, already breaking ThunderClan's basic safety regulations, but then she takes them to the RiverClan border, and then doesn't do anything as they proceed to go for a swim with zero training, thinking surely they must be fine swimmers since they are part RiverClan. Patchkit gets stuck on a floating branch, and she asks Petalkit and Larchkit to go save him, because she doesn't want to get her paws wet? That is certainly a choice. We are at Broken Star levels of delusion. Appledusk has to save Patchkit. And then in Chapter 4, you all already know, she makes the kits swim again when she is fleeing to RiverClan territory. And this time is even worse because it's a storm, and the kits themselves are protesting it. Yes, Frecklewish is watching her, but there are no ThunderClan cats actively chasing or trying to harm her. Why does Mapleshade have so much urgency that she needs to throw kittens in the river? To make things worse, the very next chapter, Mapleshade is seen crossing the two-leg bridge she totally could have used instead of making the kits swim in a flood. The only thing you can argue aside from her being evil is that she's just dangerously stupid. But she's not stupid. The second half of this book proves she's a schemer. The truth is, she is just genuinely self-centered from the very start, and the lives of her kits are simply pawns in her grand scheme of getting together with Appledusk and being the hero who ended the war. She only sees them as tools for her to use, and that's why she isn't careful with their lives. She sees Birchface's death as a mere inconvenience to the public opinion of Appledusk. She sees her kits as a way to claim Appledusk away from Reedshine. She sees the kits as a method to end the war and a means to get everyone to approve of her loving Appledusk. And she brings the kits to the RiverClan border because she convinces herself that Appledusk secretly wants it, even though he says the exact opposite. Mapleshade's evil wasn't created by tragedy. It wasn't the product of desperation. The seeds were always there, and she was risking the lives of her kits in the water for her own romantic and political agendas before she was ever exiled from ThunderClan. Number 1. Mapleshade post-exile from RiverClan. I don't really even need an argument for this placement. Even the most passionate Mapleshade fans are fully on board with this one, and it's why they like her. This version of Mapleshade is the outright villain. Without her, we don't have a book. She kills Ravenwing, Frecklewish, and Appledusk, and she would have killed Reedshine too had Appledusk and Perchpaw not stopped her. She digs up Ravenwing's grave just because she wants to take away his dignity, and worst of all, when Mylar catches a mouse for her, she doesn't even say thank you! The horror! Okay, jokes aside, yeah, this placement is really obvious. So that concludes the list. Here are the cats ordered by the tiers I gave them. Alright, bye everyone.